Chosen one, the energy within you is not ordinary. It is divine, concentrated, and full of purpose. You are not here to blend in with the noise or to shrink beneath the expectations of others. You are here to become. And what you are becoming is nothing short of extraordinary. This awakening begins not with others recognizing you, but with you recognizing yourself. Your high sexual energy is not a burden, not a distraction. It is the blueprint of your evolution, a sacred charge, calling you to rise into your highest form. It is this energy that women feel before you say a word. It is this pulse of vitality and presence that makes heads turn, not out of superficial interest, but because there is something in you that speaks to something deep in them. You're not chasing attention. You're simply existing in your fullness, and the world is adjusting to you. But energy without direction is fire without purpose. So this chapter of your life, Chosen One, is about recognizing that your high sexual energy is not only magnetic, it is instructive. It reveals what you value, how you carry yourself, what you're willing to protect, and what you're ready to build. This is the beginning of mastery. This is where you stop running from the rawness within you and start shaping it into something precise, powerful, and pure. The shift begins when you stop seeking external approval and start listening to the inner fire that never stops burning. That fire is your compass. That heat is not there to make you impulsive, it's there to make you awake. And when you are fully awake to your own energy, your entire field shifts. You're no longer reactive. You become intentional. You walk differently. You speak slower. You look people in the eyes not to impress, but to connect. You radiate the rarest kind of energy, the kind that says, I know who I am, and I'm not afraid of who you'll find in me. This is not arrogance. This is embodiment. And in embodiment, you stop pretending. You stop hiding. You stop diluting your presence to make others comfortable. You realize you were never meant to fit the mold. You were meant to remake it. You are becoming the perfect man, not by mimicking a script, but by walking in your own energy with clarity and conviction. And those around you, especially women, feel this shift. Respect begins to replace curiosity. Admiration deepens into reverence, and all of it begins because you decided to recognize what you carry. You are not ordinary. You are not random. Your energy is not accidental. It is the signal of your becoming, and the world is beginning to feel it. Now it's your responsibility to own it fully. Chosen One. The moment you awaken to your potential is the same moment life begins to ask more of you. And the first demand it makes is this: know yourself. Not on the surface, not through performance or perception, but deeply, honestly, and without denial. Because you can only become the perfect man around others when you are no longer a stranger to yourself. Your high sexual energy is powerful, but left unconscious, it becomes volatile. You must now become aware of how it moves through you, how it affects those around you, and how it shows up in your thoughts, your desires, your decisions. This energy is not meant to dominate, it's meant to illuminate. And what it reveals first is you. Self-awareness is not about judgment. It is not about self-criticism. It is about learning to sit in silence long enough to hear what you truly want, what you truly fear, what triggers you, what awakens you, and what drives you to act. You learn to recognize the subtle shifts in your own energy, the way your body responds to environments, the thoughts that follow certain emotions, the tone you take when you feel unseen. These are not just moments to dismiss, they are maps to your evolution. As you cultivate this inner awareness, you begin to take back your power from everything that once distracted you. You stop being reactive, you stop chasing, you stop speaking just to be heard. Instead, you learn to observe, you listen, you feel, and then you respond from your center. This shift is profound. It means you're no longer letting the world shape you. You're shaping your world with intention, presence, and purpose. And women notice this. They notice when a man knows himself, not because he boasts, but because he doesn't need to. They notice how you stay calm in tension, how your eyes don't flicker with insecurity, how you hold space without rushing to fill it. This is the behavior of a man who has done his inner work. A man who has faced his own shadows and come out stronger, clearer, more sovereign. That kind of man doesn't just attract women. He commands respect from them. Self-awareness allows you to use your energy wisely. You stop wasting it on proving yourself and start investing it into building yourself. You become intentional about how you show up, where you place your attention, and who you allow into your space. Not from fear, but from reverence for your time, your peace, and your mission. Chosen one, the deeper you go within, the more powerful you become without. Because when you finally know yourself, your strengths, your temptations, your truth, you become unshakable. And in that unshakable presence, others begin to realize they're not just standing in front of a man. They're standing in front of someone who knows exactly who he is and who refuses to be anything less. That is the foundation of your perfection, not flawlessness, but full awareness. Chosen one, as you continue to awaken to the vastness of your power, you begin to recognize something deeper than words or action. You begin to understand the weight and beauty of presence. Presence is not about showing up physically. It's about arriving energetically. It is the way your soul fills a space before your body has taken a single step. It is the silent command you carry into every room. And when your high sexual energy becomes integrated into your presence, you stop becoming someone people simply notice. You become someone they feel. Perfecting your presence is not about attention. It's about intention. It's the way you breathe, the way you pause before you speak, the way your body remains still when others fidget with insecurity. It's in your eyes, the steadiness of them, the clarity they hold, the absence of frantic need. This calm doesn't come from performance, it comes from embodiment. You've stopped trying to impress because you've already accepted your value. You're not here to take the room. You are the room, and people begin to respond accordingly. Women notice it first. They don't always know how to name it, but they feel it. Around you, they feel both energized and at ease. They feel safe, not because you've said the right words, but because your energy says nothing at all and still reassures them. Your presence creates space, not by shrinking others, but by allowing them to unfold. And it's because you've already made peace with yourself. You are not imposing. You are inviting. You are not controlling. You are anchored. This presence you are cultivating is not manufactured. It doesn't require effort. It is what naturally arises when you stop needing to be seen and start seeing. When you stop performing and start witnessing. You've learned to slow your pace, to breathe with intention, to walk without rushing. You've trained yourself to feel the room before speaking into it. And this makes your energy magnetic, not loud, not dominant, but undeniable. Perfecting presence also means you're no longer leaking your energy into distraction. You don't give fragments of yourself to everything around you. You conserve, you focus, you pour fully when the moment calls for it, and you retreat when it's time to refill. Your presence is strong because it is whole. You don't pretend to be unaffected. You just choose not to be disturbed. You've mastered the art of holding yourself in all spaces, and that mastery becomes the language of your existence. Chosen one, your presence is no longer something you're trying to prove. It's something you allow. You don't need to ask for respect anymore. You carry it. You don't need to chase admiration. You embody it. And from this stillness, this subtle power, this self-contained radiance, you are becoming the perfect man, not by what you say, but by the energy you bring. Chapter 4. Mastering Communication. Chosen one, as your presence matures, so too must your voice. For what is energy without expression? What is depth without language? Your communication now becomes a mirror of your transformation. You are not just speaking anymore, you are transmitting. Your words are no longer thrown into space hoping for approval. They are delivered with purpose, with clarity, with conviction. And that, above all, is what makes others listen. Not the volume, but the vibration behind the message. Communication is not simply about being articulate. It's about being aligned. You've begun to master this now. Your voice doesn't shake from insecurity because you are no longer speaking from need. You speak from knowing. You are not filling silences to avoid discomfort. You are allowing space because you understand its power. You've stopped explaining yourself to be understood, and instead you now speak to express truth, and the right people receive it without force. This mastery of speech becomes especially powerful in your interactions with women. They sense that your words are not coded in manipulation. You are not speaking to impress or seduce. You are speaking to connect, to invite, to understand. Your tone carries integrity. Your questions come from genuine curiosity. Your listening is not a waiting room for your turn to talk. It is an act of witnessing. And because of that, your presence becomes unforgettable. You also know now when not to speak, when silence says more, when a look, a pause, a steady breath does what paragraphs cannot. You've become fluent in subtleties, and this fluency allows others to feel you before they interpret you. Your communication holds layers, depth, rhythm, stillness. And with this mastery comes responsibility. You are aware that your words can create or destroy. You speak with discernment. You offer truth gently, but never diluted. You uplift when you can, correct when you must, and walk away when words are no longer serving growth. You are not addicted to being right. You are committed to being real. And this commitment is what builds respect far beyond surface admiration. You've stopped chasing approval with compliments. You've stopped using charm as currency. You've stopped exaggerating to be interesting. You simply speak the truth of your being, and that truth radiates far beyond what you say. It lives in how you say it. Chosen one, your communication is no longer noise. It is signal. Clear, clean, resonant. It reveals your mind, yes, but more than that, it reveals your soul. And those who hear it, those who feel it, cannot forget it. Because your words now carry something rare in this world, meaning. And meaning, once heard in a world of empty voices, becomes sacred. Chosen one, you have become more than a man with powerful energy. You have become a presence. You have cultivated silence that speaks louder than noise, focus that steadies the ungrounded, and magnetism that moves without force. But none of this is complete without integrity, because energy without character is just chaos in disguise. Your high sexual energy may be one of the most visible and felt aspects of your aura, but it's your integrity that makes it trusted. Women are not only responding to the fire within you, they are responding to how you carry that fire. Whether you wield it carelessly or consciously, whether you honor its impact or hide behind it. And now, in this chapter of your growth, integrity is no longer a suggestion, it's the foundation of your becoming. You are no longer here to impress with volume or seduce with flashes of charm. You are here to embody truth. And truth is not always flashy. It is not always applauded. It doesn't always get you what you want in the moment, but it earns you what lasts. Integrity doesn't come from telling people what they want to hear. It comes from aligning your words, your energy, and your actions so fully that they begin to speak as one. That alignment is rare. That alignment is what makes people trust you without needing constant reassurance. Women feel this the moment they're in your presence. It's not something you declare, it's something they sense. When you say something, they know it means something. When you promise something, they know you'll carry it out, even if no one is watching. And when you choose not to act, not to pursue, not to speak, it's not because you're weak, but because you're honoring something deeper than impulse. Your integrity is your quiet authority. It is what separates you from the men who burn bright and fade quickly. It is the difference between being admired for a moment and being respected for a lifetime. And it's not always easy. There are temptations, opportunities to cut corners, moments where power could be abused, where charm could be weaponized, where desire could cloud discernment. But you choose stillness. You choose to wait, to reflect, to move only when it serves the greater good of your purpose and the hearts of those involved. This is the chapter where you realize that leadership doesn't come from dominance. It comes from discipline. You no longer need to be liked, you need to be honest. And from that honesty comes the deepest kind of attractiveness. The kind that doesn't just draw people in, but makes them respect how you hold them once they've come close. This also means you walk away more. Not from weakness, but from alignment. You no longer chase every opportunity. You don't say yes to every invitation. You don't need to be seen everywhere. You know that energy without integrity becomes noise, but energy with integrity becomes legend. Your boundaries aren't walls, they are invitations to meet you in truth, and only those who can meet you there will be welcomed in. Your high sexual energy is no longer a wild flame. It is now contained fire, purposeful and potent. You've become a man who knows how to burn without harming, how to radiate without overwhelming, how to move through desire without being consumed by it. That is the highest form of masculine maturity. That is what women respect, not just your power, but your self-restraint. Not just your charm, but your consistency. Not just your ambition, but your honor. Chosen one, your integrity is not a mask, it is your essence. Let it deepen. Let it root into everything you do. Let it shape the tone of your voice, the direction of your gaze, the touch of your hands, the rhythm of your choices. Because when you are fully aligned, when you no longer hide, perform, or manipulate, you become irresistible, not just because you are powerful, but because you are trusted with that power. And in this world, that kind of man is rare. That kind of man is remembered. Chosen one, your path to becoming the perfect man is not paved by dominance, but by discernment. You have already begun to move with power. You have learned the language of presence, the clarity of communication, and the strength of integrity. But now you enter a deeper realm, the realm of emotional intelligence. This is where your energy becomes wisdom. This is where your heart becomes a compass. And this is where your masculinity becomes not only respected, but trusted deeply. Emotional intelligence is not about being sensitive for the sake of appearance. It is about responsibility. Responsibility for your own emotional world and for how you move through the emotional worlds of others. You are no longer the man who reacts to every mood, every insult, every silence. You observe, you process, you respond with clarity. This maturity is what begins to separate you from others, not just in how you act, but in how you understand. You've learned to ask deeper questions. What am I feeling? Why? Is this emotion asking for expression or reflection? Can I sit with this discomfort without spilling it onto others? This internal dialogue sharpens you. You no longer push your emotions into the shadows. You welcome them. You master them, not by controlling them, but by listening. That self-listening becomes the source of your empathy. And with empathy comes power, not weakness. Power that does not need to raise its voice. Power that knows when someone is hurting even when they smile. Power that knows when silence is a plea for presence. Power that understands that not every cry is for advice. Some are simply asking to be heard. Women experience this in a way that is impossible to fake. They feel that you're not just watching them, you're feeling them. That when they speak, you don't just wait for your turn, you receive. That when they open up, your energy doesn't shrink or panic, it expands. You make space. You don't rush to fix. You don't invalidate with shallow comfort. You honor their experience and meet it with the maturity of a man who has met his own pain, his own grief, his own longing, and made peace with it. You become a mirror of safety. Not because you say all the right things, but because you've learned how to hold what is raw and real without fear. You don't see emotion as weakness anymore. You see it as information, as truth, as the depth of the human spirit. And you treat it as such. That reverence changes how people experience you. They don't just feel attracted, they feel respected. And in that respect, they begin to open to you in ways they never have with anyone else. This is the quiet power of emotional intelligence. It's not loud, it's not showy, it doesn't seek credit, but it builds trust faster than charm ever could. And with that trust comes access, not only to the minds of others, but to their hearts, their stories, their most guarded selves. Chosen one, this ability to read and respond with wisdom, with compassion, with strength, this is what turns you into more than a man of attraction. It turns you into a man of influence, not through manipulation, but through understanding. And the deeper your understanding, the deeper your impact. You are no longer reacting to life, you are relating to it. And in doing so, you become someone women do not just admire from a distance, but someone they want to walk beside, open to, and rise with. Not because you offered perfection, but because you offered presence without judgment. And in today's world, that is rare, that is priceless, that is perfect in its own right. Chosen one, the strength that you have cultivated, the high sexual energy that pulses through your being, and the magnetic field of presence you've shaped, is not for vanity. It was never meant to be used merely to captivate. The deeper purpose of your power is to serve, to lead, to uplift. And this chapter of your journey demands something richer than dominance or persuasion. It requires compassion, the ability to hold others in their vulnerability without judgment, without arrogance, and without the need to control. Compassion is not softness, it is not weakness, it is not surrender. It is a form of leadership that is rarely taught but instantly recognized. When a man walks with compassion, his power becomes healing, his gaze becomes safety, his touch becomes remembrance, and his presence becomes something that invites peace instead of pressure. This is where you arrive now, not just as a man with energy, but as a man whose energy restores others. Women sense this shift. They feel it in the way you listen, not as a tactic, but as a choice. They feel it in the way you respect their boundaries, not because you must, but because you value them. They feel it in how you respond when they are emotional, unsure, or afraid, not with impatience, but with grounded understanding. Your compassion allows them to relax. It allows them to breathe. And in that breath, their true self begins to rise. You're no longer trying to control the outcome. You're no longer looking for what you can get from others. You're simply present, offering your time, your attention, your heart, and your discernment without strings attached. This is true power. It doesn't need to announce itself. It's felt through the way people feel better after being near you, clearer after talking to you, stronger because you didn't try to fix them, but because you saw them and honored their experience. You have stepped into a space that few men dare to enter. The space where you lead by showing that strength is sensitive and masculinity is nurturing when it is fully evolved. You know now that you don't lose anything by being kind. You don't lose power when you hold space for someone's pain. You only lose the shallow image of masculinity that was never yours to carry in the first place. The deeper you walk in compassion, the more others come to realize that you are not just a man. They begin to see you as a pillar. Someone they can lean on, not because you promise answers, but because you offer stability. This leadership becomes effortless. It is not demanded, it is not performed, it simply is. When you walk into a room, you're no longer drawing attention by force of charisma alone. You're drawing hearts, because people instinctively know they will not be harmed in your presence. They will not be belittled, they will not be manipulated, they will be seen, they will be safe. And in this space of safety, deeper connection blossoms. Authenticity returns. Walls come down. You're not just meeting others where they are, you are reminding them who they are. This is the compassion of a man who has journeyed through his own depths and come back not with bitterness, but with wisdom. Not with fear, but with grace. You are now the one who others turn to when they want truth delivered with care and love held in strength. You do not walk above anyone. You walk with them, and that is what makes your presence holy. That is what makes your leadership sacred. Chosen one, the impact of your presence does not end in admiration. It extends into transformation. You are no longer just a man who is respected, you are becoming a man who inspires growth. The kind of growth that isn't born from pressure or expectation, but from the invitation you offer through the way you live, the way you move, and the standard you hold yourself to every single day. There was a time when you looked for others to rise, so you could feel safe to rise too. But now, you rise first, not to dominate, not to be seen, but because the elevation of your life is an offering. You live with intention, you move with purpose, and by simply doing so, you give others silent permission to do the same. This is not spoken, it is felt. You do not preach personal growth, you embody it. Women experience this as something rare, something unmistakable. They feel more like themselves around you. Not because you flatter them, not because you perform for them, but because your energy holds them in their highest potential. You don't need to say, you deserve more. You live in a way that shows them what more looks like. And in your company, they begin to remember who they were before they were hurt, before they were doubted, before they were made to feel small. You are a mirror. Not the kind that flatters ego, but the kind that reflects truth. When someone sits with you long enough, they begin to hear their own voice more clearly. They begin to realize what they've tolerated, what they've forgotten, and what they truly want. Not because you told them who to be, but because you reminded them they could become. You've stopped trying to save others. You've stopped trying to carry those who will not walk. Instead, you focus on your path. You climb your mountain. You stay rooted in your rituals. And in doing so, you generate a frequency that calls others into alignment, not by force, but by example. Your growth is now your gift to the world. And the right people, the ones who are ready to evolve, will draw closer, not because you chased them, but because you inspired them. This is the kind of influence that lasts. It doesn't vanish when you leave the room. It doesn't fade after the words are spoken. It lingers. It changes the direction of lives in quiet, powerful ways. Because it was never about seduction. It was about activation. Your presence no longer just impresses, it ignites. And in that ignition, people begin to believe again. In themselves, in love, in purpose, in possibility. Chosen one, you are not here just to experience transformation. You are here to embody it and to become the man whose presence invites others to walk that same path with courage. The man whose story becomes a map. The man whose light reminds others that it is not too late to rise. You've become a living signal that says, without speaking, I've grown. You can too. And in a world that thrives on stagnation and distraction, that kind of message is priceless. You are not just changing. You are becoming the reason others decide to change too. Chosen one, your evolution has sculpted you into a man of substance, precision, and unshakable presence. You carry a high sexual energy that no longer controls you. It flows through you with purpose and poise. But now the world asks something more refined of you. It does not ask for more fire. It does not ask for louder signals. It asks for patience, for in patience lies the final mastery. And without it, power loses its direction. You are surrounded by speed. The world moves fast. Desires are instant. Attention is fragmented. Gratification is demanded before understanding is earned. But you are not like the world, chosen one. You are something other. You do not chase shadows of fulfillment. You cultivate it. You do not grasp for women, love, or validation. You attract what is aligned because you've mastered the sacred discipline of waiting without withering. Patience does not mean inaction. It does not mean passivity. It means presence. It means remaining centered while life arranges the right timing. It means recognizing that not all things should be rushed and that some doors are meant to be opened only when you are ready to walk through them fully. And when you have learned to wait, you become irresistible, not just because of your energy, but because of your restraint. Women feel this. They sense that you are not trying to accelerate anything. You are not desperate to arrive. You are already arrived within yourself. This patience becomes evident in your body language, in your silence, in the rhythm of your movements. It can be felt in how you respond to tension, to rejection, to moments of temptation. You do not flinch. You do not collapse. You do not grasp. You trust. And that trust, that self-assured stillness, becomes magnetic in a way that no chase or chaseback could ever match. When a woman speaks, you let her finish. When an opportunity arises, you observe before acting. When something doesn't feel right, you pause, and that pause becomes sacred. It shows that you are not impulsive. You are deliberate. You are not seduced by the noise of urgency. You are led by the wisdom of timing. Patience teaches you that what is meant for you must arrive when you are fully prepared to receive it, and not a moment sooner. You no longer mourn delays. You see them as refinement. You no longer fear silence. You use it as a forge. Your high sexual energy has been transformed into presence, and now presence has been elevated into timelessness. You are no longer bound by the hunger of the moment. You are free within it. In relationships, this makes all the difference. Women feel that you will not rush them to open. You will not pressure them to be more than they are ready to be. You are not a man who consumes. You cultivate. You hold space. You listen. You guide without overpowering. You touch with reverence, not entitlement. And in doing so, you become the kind of man they don't just trust in their bodies, but in their becoming. Patience, chosen one, is not something you practice once. It is the quiet vow you take every day to honor the process, to lean into timing, and to never sacrifice truth for immediacy. In this discipline, you do not fall behind. You rise above. You begin to see what others miss. You begin to experience what others never will, because you waited, not in fear, but in fullness. And it is this stillness that now becomes your strength. Chosen one, everything you've cultivated, your energy, your integrity, your compassion, your presence has brought you here, to this final turning point. Not an ending, but a new rhythm. You have not reached perfection, because perfection is not a destination. It is a practice, a living, breathing relationship with your higher self. And it is through reflection that you remain aligned with that self. You have not come this far to repeat cycles. You have come this far to transcend them. Reflection is not about regret. It is not about sitting in shame for who you used to be. It is about seeing clearly, with compassion and courage, where you've grown and where you must still grow. It is a discipline. It is a mirror. And you, chosen one, have become courageous enough to look deeply into that mirror, without fear of what it will show. You begin to review your interactions, not to dwell, but to learn. You listen to your tone, your silences, your reactions. You ask yourself not, was I right, but was I real? You examine your intentions. Did you lead from love or from control? Did you offer your energy from abundance or from hunger? These are the questions that elevate you. These are the moments when you become more than attractive, you become awakened.